Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Boxing Time TV. I did not get the actual date on this fight, but I do know that it's happening. George Groves, super middleweight, is going to be fighting Jamie Cox, and in my effort to just make a lot of fights and fill Boxing Time TV with as much content as possible, that's what I'm doing. And I'm going to look up when this fight is happening so that I can reference it. As we're kind of going through this simulated fight between George Groves and his opponent Jamie Cox. Groves is 29, Cox is 30. They're the same height. They are both super middleweights, 168, and George Groves. I was unsure on Jamie Cox's reach, so I just left it at 70. George Groves has a 72-inch reach advantage. George Groves has 26 fights, 3 losses. He's been stopped twice by Joe Calzaghe in both fights. And Jamie Cox is currently undefeated. So let's go right now to the more of the particulars. This bout's going to be scheduled for 12 rounds, 12 3-minute rounds, a 10-point must system, no mandatory 8 count, 3 knockdown rule. And once again, my name is Evan Jacobs. You can find me on Instagram. My handle is @BoxingTimeWithEvan. So if you are interested, please follow me there and like and subscribe to this page. Share it with your friends. Please tell your friends and your people about it. And yeah, just let people know, because I want to make this as big as possible and fill it with as much content. If there's simulated fights that you want to see, direct message me or email me and just say, hey, I want to see this fight, and I will put it on my list. I have a list of 4 fights right now. After this bout, I'm going to do Antonio Margarito and his comeback bout versus Carson Jones, then Jorge Linares versus Luke Campbell, and then I wrote down Vasyl Lomachenko versus Mikey Garcia, because they're talking, but nothing set for that fight. Wow, they are landing some shots here. You know, and the interesting thing is that Groves has more power. I just don't know if he has as good of a chin. Cox doesn't have as much power, but he might be a bit more sturdy, which kind of was sort of what happened in the not Joe Calzaghe fight, in the Carl Froch fight. I apologize. I said Joe Calzaghe earlier, and you guys, some people probably just stopped watching this podcast thinking, man, this guy doesn't know anything about boxing. Sorry, it's late here in the States. That's where I'm recording this. It's about 11:20, and I'm just going to keep up. And right now, Cox boring forward. One thing that Carl Froch did that I thought was really smart was he jabbed. He got Groves out of his rhythm. When he got him out of his rhythm, he was able to hurt him. You know, it was debatable. You know, if you beat him in the first fight, you know, some people felt the stoppage was quick, but in the second fight there was no question about it. Carl Froch knocked out George Groves with a very hard right hand. So George, you know, there's always psychologically playing in George Groves' mind, but George Groves is a scrappy guy, and came back from that, and that is just it's not surprising. He's a tough guy. He's a venerable guy, and you know, hey, I'm gonna make a joke. You keep giving guys a title shot. You know, you keep giving them shots at the title. You know, eventually they're gonna get it. Hopefully, but hey, Groves did it, and he deserves a lot of, you know, he beat Fedor Chudinov, and he deserves a lot of credit. And his first defense is against Jamie Cox, and that bout is going to be, as I'm looking at it right here, and basically Jamie Cox taking that first round, except one judge having it even. This bout between Jamie Cox and George Groves is going to be on October 14th, 2017 in Wembley Arena. And these two guys are just, man, Cox is coming out and he's landing. He's throwing punches, and Wow, he's meeting George Groves, and Groves looking for certain angles. Groves trying to be more of a sharpshooter in this fight. And if I'm George Groves, I go to the body. I take Cox's body away, which will take away what he has for punching power, and then Groves can do more with him. I think Groves, with that lanky frame that he has, the power that he has, there's a lot more that he can do as he tees off for a moment on Jamie Cox. Wow, going to the body. Kind of maybe I think George Groves may have heard me. We have George Groves on the left side of the screen, Jamie Cox on the right side of the screen. You are watching Boxing Time TV. Thank you so much for tuning in. I love doing this podcast. I have a lot of fun. I want to hear from you, whether you like it or whether you hate it. Doesn't matter to me either way, just as long as you watch. I think this is kind of unique. I think, the fact that in this day and age when video games look so amazing, this boxing game may not look like much, but if you watch some of the fights here, wow, Jamie Cox going to the body early and catches George Groves. Wow, that was a hard shot. That was a very hard shot. Jamie Cox is a southpaw, and he probably landed in such a way that George Groves was not expecting it. And right now, Jamie Cox doing the kind of things he needs to do to win. George Groves losing the first round on two of the judges' scorecards, and Jamie Cox is landing and throwing punches and. Wow, so Cox has a cut on his nose. George Groves has been dropped and losing that round 10-8 on all the judges' scorecards. And the question is, George Groves, who is 8 points behind, who is 8 points behind, has cut Jamie Cox. And the question is, can George Groves, who has that pinpoint power, can he use that to his advantage against Jamie Cox? And the thing is, the way that this game works, and what a lot of people don't really realize, is the way that this game works is it's not going to care if George Groves can punch Jamie Cox and bust up his nose. They will stop this fight. They will not go to any scorecards. George Groves will win with a stoppage on cuts. It's not going to care where the scorecards are. George Groves could be even more behind than he is right now, although he's landing pretty well in this round. And one wonders if Jamie Cox may have overextended himself in those first few rounds. Wow. These two guys are just landing on each other. This is actually the bout that I thought that Liam Smith and Liam Williams would be. These two guys are engaging in a very interesting fight because George Groves is trying to use his fist as a scalpel. Jamie Cox trying to shore up his defense a little bit and trying to just keep the momentum going. And he's doing a lot of what Carl Froch did. He's jabbing him in such a way. He's upsetting his rhythm, and Jamie Cox is doing what he needs to do to beat George Groves. He's doing more than that. He's really been beating him. He's really taking the title. Once again, you are watching Boxing Time TV. My name is Evan Jacobs. Please, if you like what you see here, please follow this page. Please share the links to this page. Please comment. Please subscribe. The more, I just want to fill this page up with content. And right now, Jamie Cox doing very well from a distance, landing very nicely on George Groves. This reminds me in some ways, of when Mark Breland fought Aaron Davis. Breland was coming forward with those pinpoint punches, busting him up hard, and Aaron Davis just kept coming forward, and he landed, and he really knocked out Mark Breland. So they are saying that Groves is tired, Cox is breathing heavy. One judge has it even for Groves. And one judge gave it to Cox 10-8. Another one gave it to him 10-9. Jamie Cox now ahead by 11 points. We're moving into the fourth round. Jamie Cox not seeming to be bothered by the shot on his stomach, and really seems to have learned a lot from Groves' fights against Carl Froch. Once again, my name is Evan Jacobs, and you can find me on Instagram. My handle is and then the name Boxing Time with Evan. I do a daily show. I love doing it. Right now, you are watching George Groves fighting Jamie Cox. This bout is scheduled to happen on, as I see here, I'm going to go over the date again. It's October 14th in Wembley Arena. And Groves not going gently into that good night. He's landing on Cox, and the problem is he's taking a lot of punches to land one. And I don't know that that's a great strategy for him. And he's also been dropped. Cox is a southpaw, so that's also probably causing a problem for George Groves. And we will just have to see as this bout progresses. Wow, Jamie Cox landing hard there. Going to the body. Oh, wow. These two guys, a lot of back and forth. Very good, accurate punching from George Groves when he moves his hands. Jamie Cox, it's more of a volume game now, but he's really doing a very good job of keeping a distance from Groves. And as Groves tries to move forward, Cox wobbles him right there. Wow. Well, that got George Groves' attention. And Cox just hits him. It's that straight left. It really is the equalizer here. Wow, look at that work being done by Jamie Cox as George Groves. When he lets his hands go, it's just he's allowing Cox to kind of outbusy him right now. Oh wow, driving Groves into the ropes is Jamie Cox. Oh wow, he goes to the body, punching George Groves. Groves may be hoping to counter a bit. I mean, don't forget, he's landed a lot in this round. He busted up Cox's nose. It's a very real possibility that George Groves can be ahead on points and get out of this if the ref stops it, because I'm not going to go to the scorecards. George Groves, even on one judge's scorecard, losing it on two of the other judges' scorecard. We're heading right now into the fifth round of this very entertaining fight. I'm thinking that one of them is going to explode a bit more in this round. I'll be honest with you, I don't know who it is. Oh, wow. Groves, this might be the long game for him. Maybe he just counters Cox. Cox is coming forward. Groves has been, far in distance and whatnot. Maybe this is just what he does. And maybe if he can hold off Jamie Cox, he can land and he can. Oh, wow. These guys just landing on each other, and Jamie Cox respecting George Groves, getting his pound of flesh. Oh, wow, punching him into the ropes. Oh, he punches him into the ropes again with that left hand. Oh, man. Jamie Cox. George Groves on the left side of the screen, Jamie Cox on the right side of the screen. You are watching Boxing Time TV, and this is a simulated match between George Groves and Jamie Cox. They battle in October, and this is a fight that's been all Cox. Groves has landed though, and he's trying to counter on Cox, trying to take advantage of Cox's bloody nose, and people are not going to be happy if it ends with George Groves getting a decision or getting a stoppage over Cox, because that's what this game will do. Even though Cox is 13 points ahead right now, so we're moving into the last portion of the fifth round. Problem is, Cox might be tired. He's expended a lot of energy, although he just blasts George Groves with an uppercut and a body shot. Man, Cox, I give him a lot of credit. He's thrown caution to the wind. He's fighting like he really wants to take this title. And George Groves, I give him credit too. He's taking a lot of punches. Jamie Cox taking that round 10-9 and then 10-8 on two of the judges' cards. There's now an 18-point deficit between the two of them. Jamie Cox just coming out, throwing his punches, and once again driving George Groves into the ropes. And George Groves is trying to counter as we are here in the sixth round. Jamie Cox going to the body. Groves really just getting slammed into, getting bashed into the ropes. This bout in reality is going to be taking place at Wembley Arena, and I'm just wondering, what George Groves would think if he saw this fight. Would it embolden Jamie Cox? The fight's not over yet. George Groves can still pull this out. Anything can happen in the theater of the unexpected. But Jamie Cox really, doing his best to take the title and to earn this victory over George Groves. Jabbing, Cox throwing the right hand, the body shots on George Groves. Oh, he lands a right hand. And man, Groves doing some good work off this, and Jamie Cox is there to be hit. He's also doing a lot of the hitting. Oh man, punching him into the ropes again is Jamie Cox. George Groves still lands on him. Oh man, Cox really landed some shots that round. We'll see what's happening. They're saying that Groves is tired. Cox is breathing heavy. He still has that cut on his nose. 10-8, 10-8 on all the judges' cards. How much of this can George Groves take? It's a big question because he's behind now by 24 points. Oh! Comes out and just Cox just nails him. Oh man. I wonder if George Groves is trying to make a stand in a bit of in some sort of a way, trying to let Jamie Cox know, I'm not going to let you push me to the ropes, not going to let you do that now, and seeing what happens. We're halfway through this fight. We're in the 7th round. You're watching Boxing Time TV. George Groves on the left side of the screen, Jamie Cox on the right side of the screen. My name is Evan Jacobs. Please follow me on Instagram at Boxing Time with Evan. If there's bouts that you want to see, if there's simulated fights that you wanted to see, please direct message me or email me and let me know. And we will do everything that we can here to make that happen. Like I said, I currently have others on the docket. Antonio Margarito in his comeback battle versus Carson Jones. Jorge Linares versus Luke Campbell. And Vasyl Lomachenko maybe against Mikey Garcia, though I'm trying to make fights more that are actually made. I think that you guys appreciate that more. Although, I'll make fights that, I'd make a fight between like Joe Frazier and Anthony Joshua. That would be a good fight. Actually, now that I think about it. Man, these guys are landing really, really hard on each other. Uppercuts and right hands. Oh, Jamie Cox wobbles him. Jamie Cox, wow, really just landing some hard shots as George Grove showing no quit, really trying to, was hoping, came out trying to mount a rally, and it's not as easy. It's not as easy as it thinks. Oh man, George Groves highly wobbled. Jamie Cox just looking for openings. Wow. Wow, George Groves on very wobbly legs. Very, very tired. Jamie Cox, try as George Groves did, he lost that round on all 3 judges' scorecards. Wow, what a memorable fight this has been so far. Oh man, Jamie Cox just coming out now. He feels that he has George Groves. He's going to go to the body. He's going to try to land George Groves covering up, not throwing that much. And now we're in the eighth round, and Jamie Cox wants to put an end to this. He wants to take George Groves' belt. Oh man, these two guys really going at it. Groves landing. He's still in it because of that cut, even though he's getting pounded to the body by Jamie Cox. Jamie Cox landing punches landing some solid punches against George Groves, and Groves is just out of competition. Oh, and he wobbles him. Jamie Cox coming in. George Groves taking a ton of punches. He's been taking a beating pretty much this whole fight. Jamie Cox, it would take everything for George Groves to get up. He fought a valiant fight, but Jamie Cox just having too much for him and stopping George Groves in the 8th round. The winner by knockout, Jamie Cox. We will have to see if this is what happens when these two guys fight. The winner, Jamie Cox, by a knockout. Fight lasted 8 rounds. Groves was knocked down 2 times. Cox was not knocked down and has a cut in his nose. Scorecards, it's all academic at this point. Cox was up by 7 points on one, 11 points on another, and 9 points on another. And this was a very entertaining fight. Thank you so much for watching Boxing Time TV. My name is Evan Jacobs. Please find me on Instagram. Follow me. Please tell your friends about this page. Share it. Subscribe. Turn on your notifications. Direct message me or email me if there's any bouts that you want to see. Thank you so much for watching Boxing Time TV, and we will see you at the fights.